Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Member for asking this question. Madam Speaker, you would have noted from print media and other reports over the last 2 decades, there have been a number of accidents at workplace, large and small firms both included. An approach that the Ministry of Labour has taken is to get firms to have their officers trained in OHS and first aid, and therefore also get employers to ensure that the workplace is compliant to OHS regulations in the country. However, Madam Speaker, we note that while some of the large firms are doing that, but a number of large firms are not able to do that for reasons, for example, cost issue, as well as also turnover of staff. Medium and small enterprises, Madam Speaker, are not able to do that. They're not interested to do that as well, Madam Speaker. In informal sector, basically absence of knowledge about OHS as well as first aid, Madam Speaker. We have seen a number of drowning cases, Madam Speaker. A small but significant number could have been avoided if people knew basic first aid skills. Madam Speaker, early last year, Ministry of Education, we decided that at least we could educate the current generation of students to have basic first aid skills, as well as make them aware of OHS regulations, workplace hazards, and what they could do to prevent any hazard at a particular workplace, differentiate between hazards and risk, Madam Speaker. We have in our custody slightly over 200,000 students, Madam Speaker, in the primary and secondary schools. Hence, we decided that we can't have special training sessions for all the students, but we can train our teachers, Madam Speaker, the primary school and high school teachers. So we decided, one way we thought was to get them to take workshops from Ministry of Labour or FNU who are running short courses. But we decided that we wouldn't want to put any burden on our teachers because they'll have to pay a fee. A module in OHS would cost about $250, Madam Speaker, additional burden on our teachers. A module on first aid would cost about $250, a 2 to 3 day module, Madam Speaker. What we decided, Madam Speaker, we hired a qualified OHS and first aid specialist, who in fact was a lecturer at FNU. We hired, it's our staff now. We started training programs, Madam Speaker. Basically, with regard to OHS, we wanted them to have knowledge about issues with regard to basic OHS, hazards and risk at a workplace, and how they could mitigate those. With regard to first aid, we wanted them to understand and have basic skills. Madam Speaker, then once these people, our teachers are trained, then they could incorporate them in their teaching to the students, and that's how we can capture this over 200,000 students that we have. And the next generation of students, Madam Speaker, who come out into the labour market, they will have at least basic OHS knowledge, as well as the basic techniques of first aid. For example, these are, for first aid, roles and responsibilities of different parties. CPR for infants and adults, practical bandaging, fractures, stretcher exercise. These are the basic module 1 skills that we want every employee to have. On OHS, basically on different concepts and definitions, the types of hazards in a workplace, how to mitigate those hazards, Madam Speaker, and differentiate between hazard and risk and how you could avoid, minimize the probability of risk in a particular workplace. So, Madam Speaker, we started these workshops to ensure that these teachers will then go and train our students. And in another, maybe, Madam Speaker, our target is that in another 10 years' time, all these teachers will be trained, and then the next generation of students who enter the labour market, all of them will have basic first aid skill and OHS. So this is the plan, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary question?
It's very, very worrying. This has only started last year. I expected that this is standard in every school. So why has it come late? What were you doing in the last 10 years?
10 years, 10 years, 10 years, 10 years.
Sleeping so close.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I suggest the honourable member, asks his colleague, the former Minister for Education, to explain during tea time.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the Honorable Sarah Tirundondo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Minister explain what the Ministry has done post-cyclone, post-Winston cyclone, done in terms of this important topic on OHS and first aid to schools that have been badly affected by Winston, bearing in mind the environment that they work in is still very high risk, and also bearing in mind that, like being mentioned already, right, like we are using private homes as classrooms. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
The Speaker, I'll answer the first part, but the last part of her statement, using private homes for classes, I'm not aware of that. I would want to get some data on it. Which school is using private homes for classroom? No, it's not happening. Madam Speaker, what we have done is Ministry of Health, our education officers have worked with Ministry of Health. We have cordoned off those areas which will provide a risk and is a hazard to students. Those are totally cordoned off. And what we have done is ensured that the school heads are ensuring that students don't get to that particular area. So that's how we are minimizing any particular hazard and risk. And the long-term solution is to ensure that those damaged buildings are constructed. Madam Speaker, some members on the other side are the ones who are saying that we should have kept the students at TVS, the damaged facility, and subjected them to the risk, Madam Speaker. We decided no, Madam Speaker. We decided that given the level of damage that facility had, we can't have students there. That's the kind of response we have taken. Thank you.
Thank you. I give the floor to the Honorable Mohammed Dean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Minister, for the initiative. Actually, I have worked with the officer, and trust me, he's a very dynamic one. My question is, are there any plans to get more trainers in this program? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, so much so that we would want to, but there is a very limited number of expertise in the area of OHS and first aid in Fiji. Very difficult to get, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And I give the last question to the Honorable Lever.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In terms of the roles played by the teachers in the schools, there are a lot of tasks that have to be conducted, classroom-based assessments, and teachers are housed in tents. How about this OHS issue? How will they be implemented? Because most of these students are running away from this tent because of the heat. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I just explained that Ministry of Health officials are working with the education officer and the school heads to see how we could minimize disruption and hazard and risk to students who are studying in tent, as well as in schools where parts of the buildings are damaged. So we've got micro-level strategies to ensure that students are not subjected to any hazard and risk. Thank you.